And so can you just kind of talk about like your journey? How did you become an educator? What led you to the path of being an impact maker? Where does your story begin?
Hmm. My story began in Sri Lanka. That's where I was born. But we had a huge war there. So we had to leave. My dad lost everything. So we had to find safety. So he decided to bring us to Canada. So, but he left first to Canada. And then after a couple of years, he then brought us here. During those years, my grandparents were everything for me. They became everything. So when I left Sri Lanka, it's still in my heart. It's a painful is that because I was so young, I didn't realize that's the last time I'm going to see my grandparents. I thought it was just a short trip to somewhere. I'll come back in a few days. I'm like, bye bye. I'm going to Canada as as a 6 year old. But that was the last time I saw them. I couldn't go back to ever hug them or anything. So that was my last goodbye to them. So came to Canada. It was pretty cold in Montreal, in the East Coast. Then we moved to Ontario and started going to school. And the racism was pretty heavy during that time, right? So I always had a because of my grandparents and my granddad especially. You know, I had a good understanding that I'm the new person here. They don't know me. One day they'll get to know me and they'll appreciate me. Right now they don't know me. So I always had that in my head. So I never let it bother me, you know. But I was always shy. But because I didn't know English, I started muting myself at school to protect myself from getting made fun of. I didn't want people to know I didn't know proper English. And my parents didn't speak English either, so that didn't help at home. And because my dad lost everything in Sri Lanka, he had everything in Sri Lanka. He was pretty well off. Now he's without anything. He's at minimum wage in Canada, helping four of his kids. So it was a big shift for him. So he started drinking. So our house became a mess. It was always a fight or he's just angry. And every time he would come drunk home, we're all afraid what's going to happen. And most of the time he'll pick on me or my brother, younger brother, and he'll ask questions, like what's 9 times 9? And I get so scared and I would answer it wrong. And then he'll punish me by saying, sit on your knee for another, half an hour and then all that stuff. So it was always very, very bad situation. And at school, I'm getting made fun of, sometimes thrown rocks, sometimes spit at. All these things are happening at home. This is happening. And my mom's sort of like from the generation where she's like, honors her husband no matter what. So she's not going to protect me either, right? So then there was an adult in my life that really showed some love and care and everything. But he was grooming me. I didn't know that. During that time, he was grooming me. And later, at 32 years old, I got to know that's what was happening, but it took that long to realize that. Um, so he raped me, and then after that, I became very lost, even more lost than I was previous to that. I was around 12 years old now. So then I went to school. I'm still not speaking, and by the end of that year, I decided that, what, maybe I should kill myself because I don't have any answers to anything. I'm not doing well in school. I'm not speaking. A lot of things are not going right. And I'm pretty much a burden for my parents because my dad always says you're stupid and he'll compare everything to everyone and everything and says you're not going to be anything good for anything. So that's what I ended up doing. One day I decided to end my life. So I sat down and exactly did what I wanted to do, but I didn't leave. I woke up again. The next day I woke up and I got a second chance. And I also got a very good lesson on how the mind works. The day before when I was doing all that, my mind was in a toxic pool of thoughts. But the second day, the same mind was giving me, oh, your mom is so sad. But the day before, it said your mom wouldn't care. You see, when I was in the toxic level, I'm hearing everything validated my own negative thoughts. The second day, I was rebirthed again, and I have new ideas. They don't all hate me. My mom doesn't hate me. She loves me. If I've gone that day, my mom would have been devastated all her life. Just one example. And then I looked at my brother. They love me. But the day before, nobody loved me. So I started studying my mind. That day is when I said, oh, mind works the way you think. You can make it work like this. So that's how I started getting a little bit strength. I'm not saying that's everything happened like that, but I kind of started playing with my mind, like, I can make it work for me. Then I started applying more and more, went back into the school again. And during that time, there was an ESL teacher. Her name was Mrs. Mayo. And she looked at me one day and said, I know you can speak because I'm not speaking up until anyone, like I'm muting myself at school. If anyone asks, I'm just like nodding, and nobody cared until this time. Since 6 years old to almost 13, no one cared. I didn't speak. So I've just bypassed every teacher as a shy girl. Don't worry about her. That's what they would always say. I'm like, I'm not shy. I'd like to say stuff. I had ideas. So I became a very good listener. Body language, everything. I was a scientist in my mind. If you ask me what I was doing, I was studying everybody. I was studying every move, everything. So Mrs. Mayo looked at me in my ESL class and said, I know you can speak. I want you to speak. Just say what you want to say. And she made me speak at school one day. And then I started speaking. So I
What did
just
you
needed,
speak about?
just, we were reading something. She just said, just tell me what you're thinking. Just speak. Don't just sit there, just speak. I just needed somebody to tell me that.
If you enjoyed what you saw, like, share, comment, and forward to someone that this will bring value to. Thank you so much for all the support. We appreciate it.